Have you ever found yourself wondering why, in spite of all your dedicated efforts to evolve into a better version of yourself, that nagging feeling of being incomplete simply refuses to disappear? You diligently read the self-help books, absorb the motivational videos, and experiment with every conceivable technique for self-healing. Yet, after all that work, you are still left with the persistent sense that something is fundamentally wrong with you. You might conclude that you simply haven't meditated with enough discipline, that you haven't invested enough time in therapy, or perhaps that you haven't achieved that elusive, ideal state of productivity you see glorified everywhere. But what if I were to propose a radical idea? What if the very notion that you are something broken that needs to be fixed is, in fact, the genuine origin of all your suffering? This can be a difficult truth to confront. We have been systematically conditioned by our culture to believe in the existence of an ideal to be attained, a flawless, perfected self, utterly free from trauma and devoid of any anguish. Consequently, all your discomfort seems to arise from the fact that you haven't reached that destination yet. However, the influential 20th century thinker Alan Watts, who was instrumental in bringing Eastern philosophy to the West, would offer you a startlingly different piece of advice. Stop trying to fix yourself. This isn't because the pain or confusion you feel isn't real, but because the foundational belief that you are broken is a powerful illusion. You weren't born with self-loathing. You were taught to perceive yourself as defective. You were led to believe that through sheer force of will, discipline, and self-analysis, you could somehow erase your feelings and transform your identity. But the truth, a truth few have the courage to articulate, is that this idealized self is a phantom. It will never be achieved because it does not exist. And the more relentlessly you chase this mirage, the further you drift away from your authentic self. Alan Watts perceived with profound clarity what many modern therapists, life coaches, and spiritual guides often overlook. Our cultural obsession with self-improvement is frequently a well-disguised manifestation of self-rejection. It represents a constant, desperate attempt to escape from who you are right now, to impose order onto life, and to meticulously avoid chaos, imperfection, and the unpredictable nature of existence. But life, in its essence, cannot be controlled. It is not a machine with predictable, interchangeable components. It is a dynamic, ever-changing flow, a continuous process, and you are an inseparable part of that process. You are not a glitch in the system. You are the system itself, manifesting in human form. This frantic quest to become a calmer, more spiritual, or more healed individual is precisely what creates the distance between you and the one thing you truly need: the acceptance of who you are in this very moment, just as you are, without any spiritual makeup or motivational narratives. If you are exhausted from living in this perpetual race against yourself, constantly feeling that you never quite arrive at the finish line, then this message is for you. This is an invitation to dismantle the pervasive illusion that there is something fundamentally wrong with you. Because maybe, just maybe, you have never been broken at all. Take a moment to truly reflect on this. Who precisely is this you that holds the firm belief that you are broken? And who is this other you that is so determined to do the fixing? This inner war is the result of an illusory division between a judging self, the supposedly rational, disciplined, and spiritualized adult, and an imperfect self, which is seen as childish, chaotic, and in need of constant repression. This internal split is a cultural construct. From our earliest years, We are taught that our raw, spontaneous nature is a problem to be solved. In school, at home, and through the media, we learn that certain emotions are bad and certain impulses are wrong. Our bodies must be tamed, our minds disciplined. But this division is a lie. You are not two opposing entities locked in a struggle. You are a single, unified consciousness trying to navigate a world that has taught you to be at odds with yourself. You can never win a war in which the enemy is yourself. This constant endeavor to tame your impulses and control your thoughts is a logical trap, a self-perpetuating cycle that only continues because you believe you are both the problem and the solution. This division forces you to live in a state of permanent self-judgment, creating chronic anxiety, inadequacy, and a silent, pervasive guilt. This flawed logic is the very engine of the personal development industry. It thrives by selling you the promise that you are inherently deficient and require fixing. It presents happiness as a future destination, contingent upon you first conquering your flaws, healing your traumas, and silencing your mind. The central paradox that Watts so brilliantly exposes is this. The very attempt to become a better person is founded on the premise that you are currently broken, and this belief is the actual root of your suffering. The more you strive to change, the more you reinforce the idea that your present self is unworthy. And so the cycle of dissatisfaction perpetuates itself. You are desperately seeking a solution to a problem that only exists because the search itself created it. But what if those parts of you that you reject, your anger, your sadness, your indecision, are not flaws at all? What if they are legitimate expressions of life itself? From Watts's perspective, human nature isn't a defective system. It's life itself, contradictory, mutable, and imperfectly authentic. Your emotional fluctuations are like waves in the ocean. They are a natural part of the whole, not distortions to be eliminated. You don't look at a winding river and try to tear out its curves to make it straight. You don't look at a crooked tree and declare it is wrong. Yet when you look at yourself, you demand linearity and permanent balance. Suffering doesn't come from difficult emotions themselves, but from our desperate resistance to them. Pain is an unavoidable part of existence. Suffering arises from our resistance to pain. The problem isn't feeling anger. It's believing that feeling anger makes you a bad person. It's not about being afraid. It's about judging that fear as weakness. When you allow yourself to surrender to an experience, it completes its natural cycle and passes. When you fight it, it becomes chronic. This brings us to one of Alan Watts's most challenging ideas, the law of reverse effort. The more you consciously try to force something, the more it eludes you. The more you struggle to float, the faster you sink. If you try to force yourself to fall asleep, you'll only stay awake longer. In the same way, true transformation does not happen through the effort to change, but precisely when you completely abandon the attempt. This doesn't mean becoming passive or resigned to your fate. It means changing the entire starting point of your actions. It means shifting from a place of self-rejection to a place of radical acceptance. The goal is to change not because you hate yourself, but because you love yourself enough to no longer harm yourself with judgment. When you let go and stop trying to be someone else, you create space, and in that space, your true nature can emerge. Much like a plant grows not because someone pulls on it, but because it is given the soil, water, and light it needs to blossom on its own. This is not resignation. This is liberation. It is the profound realization that you were never broken. The pain you experience is not a signal that something is wrong with you. It is a vital call from within, a reminder that you are still alive, that there are parts of you begging to be acknowledged, not fixed. Your doubts, your impulses, your anxieties, and your perceived flaws do not make you less than whole. They simply make you human. What truly causes you to suffer is not these internal states, but the pervasive idea that you should not be feeling them. It is the shame of being lost, the fear of not being good enough, and the utter exhaustion that comes from constantly trying to fit yourself into an invisible, idealized mold. You have spent years fighting a war against yourself. Now you have the chance to declare a ceasefire, to come home to your true self, to breathe without judgment, to feel without correction, and to simply be without the exhausting need to prove your worth. So for a moment, just stop. Silence that inner voice that insists you need to be better, stronger, or wiser. That voice is lying. You are not broken. You never were. And life never demanded that you be anything other than exactly what you are, right now. If this message has resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Beyond the Mind to continue exploring these ideas. Your support helps us create more content that challenges conventional thinking. Thank you for joining me on this journey.